All right. Welcome to Financial Independence Retire Early. My name is Bert, and this is the 25th episode. All right. And on this lucky episode number 25, I'm going to be talking about, well, which is a response to um, a viewer who asked me, what other economic opportunities or what other unique economic opportunities do I believe exist out there for the African entrepreneur, the African business person, the African investor, the African consumer, and generally for the African experience, right? What other unique economic opportunities do I believe exist out there for us as Africans? And, just off the top, honestly, just being one of the least developed continents generally in the world, I mean, that therein lies a large part of the opportunity. There's so much room and opportunity for prospects, and projects, ventures, especially for the creative and innovative, the inventive people and groups who are looking specifically to close these gaps, right, and solve these problems that exist for us as Africans, whether these are the development gaps that we see exist in education, in food security, in general inequality. So if you are working deliberately towards solving these gaps and closing these gaps and solving these problems that exist specifically for the African experience, then therein I believe lies in a large part of the opportunities. And also again, off the top, there's so much untapped human and natural resource on this continent. And we know about the natural resources, but just like I said in the previous episode, there's a $2 trillion economic opportunity that lies in agriculture, farming, and food production, excuse me. And there's even a larger opportunity that lies in the mining industry, right? Whether it's mining gold in Ghana and South Africa, whether it's all of the oil in Nigeria and Angola, all of the diamonds in Botswana, the platinum, the livestock in Tanzania and Sudan. There's a huge opportunity in value addition and beneficiation of the mineral resource, the trillions and trillions of dollars of mineral resource that exist underneath the African soil, and turning those into end products, or units of end products, right? So value addition and beneficiation of all of these natural resources that we have into end products or parts of end products also lie in a multi-trillion dollar opportunity. But honestly, all of that will be possible if we work on what I believe then is the biggest potential that we have, which is the human resource potential, right? If we work on our strongest resource, which is the human potential and the human capital that we have, then we will be able then to go forth and solve the rest of the other economic and social problems that we have. And the unique opportunity for Africa then lies in the fact that we are the youngest population in the world. The median age, or which is something similar to the average age, is about 19.8 years. So the average age on this continent is 20 years old, right? That means 60%, that's 6 in 10 people, are under the age of 25, right? That is, for me, that's mind blowing. Actually, when I realized, or when I discovered this, that the median age is 20 years old and the average person, right, 60% of the population in Africa is under 25 years old, for a population that's over 1 billion. That gives us such a young, right, relatively sustainable, fit workforce that is, higher than even in India and China. And if we can work so hard in, in specialty based education and training, right? If we work in specialty based education and training as an economy, as a system, or as a business opportunity, then we can use that to unlock all of the other opportunity that exists. So one of the first, it might not have a low barrier of entry, but I think if we also focus, right, on specialty based education and training, right, we can modernize not only our consumer base but also help modernize our industrial base. So our young people, if you focus on the economic prosperity that comes from youthful innovation and creativity, right, and everything that we lack in experience, we can make up for in innovation. But if we are, brave enough and courage enough, to then empower, right, the young people that exist on this continent, then we will be able to unlock all of the other opportunities that I think may exist for us. And that will also create something like, something that I've spoken about, which is the growing middle class, right? If we empower young people and we get jobs for young people, then we'll be able to over time grow our middle class. And that in itself is another economic opportunity, in the sense that the products and services that will be demanded by a growing middle class will be different than the products and services that are demanded by an underdeveloped society, right? There will be a global standard, right, for the supply chain and value addition of our products and services that we have to then give our growing middle class, as they will become more brand aware and more sophisticated, right? Their palettes and their understanding of things will become more sophisticated. So that's another economic opportunity in creating luxury products and services for the African continent and the African consumer. I believe that is $1 trillion economic opportunity. If you don't believe me, ask Bernard or no, and he'll tell you that luxury goods and services in themselves are $1 trillion opportunity. And I believe that focusing on growing our middle class, right, and feeding the demands, the preferences, and the growing population that is in a middle and upper class, that in itself, right, will create a global standard of products and services that we can then compete not only within our continent, but use that as a base for real international competition, right? And when you think about being an entrepreneur in Africa and creating a new consumer base and introducing new products and services, you obviously have to think about how you're going to adapt all of this for the African consumer, right? And that means thinking about having unique returns and time models and unique business models in generally. So as a business person, right, and you're going to be wanting to evolve and develop this continent, you're going to have to think about it, very strategically, about how do you, create a new consumer base? How do you even create demand for your products and services before it exists, right? So how do you supply something that people don't know that they demand, right? That they may not know that they want or need. So that is also another tricky thing that you have to think about as an African entrepreneur. But the beauty in that is you will have first mover advantage for a rapidly growing market, right? You'll take advantage of innovative trends, products and services, or inventive solutions and services that you come up with for no competition, right? And you will then have new markets that you create, in your country or in the continent generally, right? So that is just like, for me, the intro in understanding how to look at the continent as a consumer base, but also as an industrial base. You have to think about the natural resources that we have, but also you have to think about the human resources that you're going to have to approach when you want to then build your businesses, right? And then the immediate, again, solutions and opportunities that exist for me, are in infrastructure, right? There's such a huge infrastructure backlog that we have, whether it's corporate infrastructure, whether it's manufacturing capacity, whether it's adequate housing and education spaces. There's a huge backlog in infrastructure that we need. Again, also not only to develop the consumer base, but also to develop the industrial and production base, right? And that means thinking strategically about regional and international travel, right? Whether it's the traveling of people or goods, especially with the ratification or the signing into law, I don't know if that's the right phrase, of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, right? If we think about the opportunities of the reduction in barriers to movement and travel that the African Free Trade Agreement has given us, then think about regional integration and regional travel and regional movement of goods and services. That we need engineers and we need entrepreneurs to think about designing unique transportation systems, whether it's what's this? I don't want to say the Hyperloop, but yes, the Hyperloop. Whether it's the Hyperloop, right? Or whether it's, fast bullet trains, whether it's fast moving trains, whether it's, unique, but yeah, generally we need, uniquely African solutions that will promote regional and international integration. And that we need that regional integration so that we can create diverse and strong economic, social, cultural, and political integration so that we have larger markets, right? So when you think about your business or your product, you can imagine not only selling it in your home country, but selling it to at least your region generally, right? And you'll have space to do that in your region. So you have to think about also what are the financial services that we need to develop in order to be able to support businesses that are going to have a regional approach, right? What are the cultural services also that will support these businesses and make them viable in a country that's not necessarily original to theirs? So you need to think about, sports, arts and culture, music, movies, all of these things that can then adequately provide the social lubricant, if I may, that will make it so much easier for regional integration and the regional movement of goods and services within Africa to be a feasible thing, right? So you need to think about arts, culture, sports, music, movies as deliberate tools, right? As deliberate tools to support businesses that move into these different regions, right? And that in itself, again, is a huge opportunity. Interlinking, right, sports, arts, culture, music, movies, and businesses in a regional space in order to support the infrastructure that's then going to come, right? When people are then want to go and to the festival, to go, be part of the movies, when people are going to want to go follow their dreams in different countries, then you need to be able then to provide the infrastructure that will make that feasible. So the financial services, the social cultural services make the demand for the infrastructure even that much more feasible, viable, and necessary, so that you can get, because infrastructure could be these are big government things, right? So the government will see the need once we provide adequate social, cultural, and financial services that support the movement of goods, people, products, and services within the regional integration approach that we will then have deliberately when we build our businesses, right? And then also going into a large opportunity that exists is in the digital transformation, right? Africa is at the forefront, right? We have a large mobile phone adaptation, right? We are at the forefront in mobile payments. So that access to global information and knowledge. And look, in Africa, you have Africans that speak French, you have Africans that speak Portuguese, you have Africans that speak English, you have Africans that speak Spanish, right? So we are not cut off from the international knowledge base as it relates to maybe international knowledge production. If it's produced in Europe, we can access it because we speak European languages. You know what I'm saying? So our access to mobile phones, we should be using them as deliberate approach to building these specialized knowledge and skills bases that we need in order to develop our country, as relates to also even adapting tech solutions that move into this so-called fourth industrial revolution, right? So telecommunications, internet, fiber, satellite, data centers, cloud computing, electricity. This is $1 trillion opportunity. Just electrifying the continent in of itself is $1 trillion opportunity. And thinking about doing it in a sustainable, eco-friendly way is also in itself another $1 trillion opportunity. And that is one of my favorite opportunities that exist for us on this African continent. The fact that we have the potential to lead sustainable development. So whether it's the infrastructure that we're building, whether it's, the storage, packaging, processing, distribution of agricultural farm products, we need to think about how we're going to use agricultural waste, infrastructural waste as repurposing and as inputs for other products and services that we need. So for example, agricultural waste can be used as manufacture or even biofuel, right? Produce hydrogen and other forms of ethanol. So we need to think about how we can reduce the harmful impacts of synthetic fertilizers and chemical fertilizers on our soil and use natural fertilizers that we get from repurposing all of this waste that we're also producing, right? In a cyclical fashion and creating circular economies, right? In order to be the leader in sustainable development. So we need to think about all of these businesses, all of these things that we're creating. We need to think about them in a sustainable way, right? We need to learn from the mistakes that other continents have created in polluting their lands and polluting, in creating landfills that they can't use anymore, in polluting their air. We need to think strategically about all of these manufacturing industrial sites that we're going to build, all of these homes that we're going to build for our people, all of these corporate spaces that we're building. We need to think about strategically and have them deliberately sustainable and eco-friendly and carbon neutral in the medium to long term. So a green approach to infrastructure and digital transformation is also a unique opportunity in and of itself, right? We need to again learn from the mistakes and only adapt things that are sustainable. And the infrastructure backlog is also an opportunity in the sense that we don't have to go around retrofitting all of these historical buildings that we may have, right? All these hundreds and hundreds of cities and towns that are waste centers and waste production centers in the developed world. We don't have that kind of infrastructural backlog. We have to retrofit all of our coal plants with platinum toxic gas catchers, right? We can build our electricity production centers as sustainable, as carbon neutral from the ground up. And that in itself, again, I believe is a huge, huge economic opportunity. And we need to think about developing Africa in a way that protects, our unique biodiversity, our unique cultural spaces, heritage spaces, and yes, again, very our unique ecological and our unique biosphere that exists on this continent. So all of this growth that we're looking at, all of this development, all this technology that we're building, all of this infrastructure that we're creating, all of these products and services, all of this food that we're processing, right? We need to think about how are we going to build that in a way that is sustainable for the environment, in a way that is also, we can redefine capitalism to be a socially responsible and ecologically responsible phenomenon on this continent, right? And that is, yes, for me, I believe a really, really unique opportunity that we have in this continent, man. We can build a society that is fair, that is equal, that is ecologically fair also. Yeah, ecologically just, right? And yeah, man. As an entrepreneur, as a business person, as a visionary for this content, I believe that is, a way to approach building your business in order to build a multi-billion-dollar business that actually solves problems and actually helps people and actually does promote Africa in a clean, sustainable, healthy, way, right? So thank you for watching. I hope you found this information relevant, and I hope you share it with other people that you think are relevant. I always leave my details in the description for anybody else that has something that they would like for me to talk about, or just questions about the things that I already spoke about. And that is how, yes, this video came up. So I really, really appreciate if you do that. Yes, thank you for watching. Bye.